Hello, everyone. I'm Joanna Deninas, and I'm so excited to have Gabey Husen here with me as my guest for today. Gabey is such a wonderful human being, and I'm so grateful that she is here to do this interview with me. And so, Gabey, I'm just going to, please share your story. Please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about who you are and why you're here.
Yes, thank you so much. I'm so excited to talk to you. I
Mhm.
think that you are a wonderful person as well, and I love what you're doing with Reach. So I'm honored to be here with you today, chatting outside of our day today. It's so much fun.
Mhm.
I am Gabey Husen. I'm originally from Wisconsin. I lived in Boston for a little bit, and then I came out to Arizona 5 years ago. So I've been a resident here for 5 years. I live in North Scottsdale, so not too far from Fountain Hills, where everything happens. And I own my own marketing agency called North Star Creative, which is all about going back to your true home, helping small business owners with various different things. And I'm very much a community volunteer. So I love being a part of my community, whether it's in Scottsdale, whether it's in Fountain Hills, whether it's in the East Valley. I love really integrating myself into communities and becoming one with where I live. So that is a little bit about me, and I'm super, super excited to chat with you more.
Excellent. Thank you for that. I love it. And yeah, and so we had met at a gathering and you started to tell me about this incredible story, fascinating to me because it totally aligns with Reach and what I'm trying to accomplish. But I want you to pretty much tell your story to me. Like I said, this is regarding your health. So,
Yes.
please share, yeah, what you feel
Perfect.
comfortable
Okay.
sharing. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So my health journey probably started around, I'm a 90s baby, so I'm 30 years old. I was born in 1995.
Mhm.
I grew up with a family. My dad had a small business. So, healthcare for small businesses, again, going back to my marketing company, can be a little bit difficult. You're really only going to the doctor for normal checkups. I was an athlete. So, getting those normal checkups so you're cleared to play sports. If you have an illness or something like that, you're just going to urgent care. I always had an intuitive feeling that I didn't love doctors. I didn't necessarily love the way that I know some people say hospitals smell, or when you leave, there was kind of like an uncomfortable, jaded feeling being in those environments. But long story short, my health journey really started when I was 16 years old. So I was a little bit late to the game for my menstrual cycle, which typically, if you're a smaller individual, which I was very, very small growing up, genetics wise, if you have a later period or menstrual cycle, it's usually a red flag. It's something that your doctor is like, oh, hold on. If you don't get it within this time frame, we need to chat a little further on it, do some testing. So I had my normal checkup. I was in high school again playing sports. Didn't get my menstrual cycle just yet. And there was a little bit of concern. And I remember, when you have anything health related, you feel really scared if you're not in that normal feeling, even though you're told, you're a little bit smaller in weight, a little bit smaller in height. So this could be normal. So maybe a month or two after, I did receive my menstrual cycle. Unfortunately, fortunately, as we know as women.
Yeah.
And what really happened from there was I wasn't having a normal cycle. So it wasn't lasting that normal 5 to 7 days, or what society tells you is normal. It was very, very scattered, and it would last several weeks or months. And so at that time, I had gone back to my doctor with my mother. They had recommended birth control. Birth control, again, being a 90s baby. So growing up in this time, this was probably 2010 ish,
Hmm.
2011. Um, a lot of times women were just being put on birth control at a young age. I was not someone at the time who was participating in activities that I would need birth control. So intuitively, I didn't necessarily want that. And the thing that really strikes me with my experience is my mom didn't want it either. My mom had shared that she had issues with weight, she had issues with hormones and emotions that were not necessarily normal. And if she was in my shoes, she wouldn't do it.
Mhm.
Now, at the time, you're 16 years old, you're listening to what your friends are doing, you're following trends, you want to be like everyone else. I already was a late bloomer, so I wanted to feel quote unquote normal again. So I ended up going on the birth control, and I had a terrible reaction to the birth control almost immediately. I would say within 1 to 2 months, I gained 55 pounds. I went from an A cup to a double D, and my body was just swollen. And I was
Mhm.
hungry all the time. I was stressed. I was emotional. Again, you're 16 years old. So you're going through those things normally as a girl, as a young girl. There was just something off. And I was a part of a dance team for my high school. And a couple of the other girls had gone through something similar. So it instantly kind of brought me back to that red flag feeling. So I ended up going back to my doctor and asked to be taken off of it. My mom was very happy with that decision, as she had the intuition that something might go wrong, as she experienced it as well. And so I went off of the medication, and nothing changed. Up until I was about 19, it was really, really hard to get rid of the weight. I went on crazy diets in terms of trying to go vegan, trying the cabbage soup that has been around
Mhm.
for years and years, doing different diets to really get this weight off. And again, I was a very small girl growing up. So gaining so much weight within a short period of time was scary for me. And,
Sure.
I have pictures and things like that at the time. And you can just tell, not only physically was I suffering, but emotionally I was suffering. I'm a young girl in high school. I was the youngest in my class. And so gaining all of that weight, again, being a dancer, wearing certain outfits, was a lot. It was a lot on my mental health at that time. And even though I had friends that were going through similar experiences, mine felt heightened. And that might have been because I was in my own body, or because I was just noticing this trend. So fast forward to college, I'm working full time for Lancome as a makeup artist. I'm traveling around. I started working for them when I was 17, so it was a fantastic full time job at a very young age. Incredibly successful, but with college, 18 credits, and working full time, there was normal stress. So every doctor I was seeing at the time was saying, it's just normal hormones, it's stress, the weight will come off eventually, your period will get normal again. And at this time, I'm in college and I'm having my menstrual cycle from anywhere from 6 to 8 months straight.
Wow.
Terrible cramps, to the point my grandmothers were both nurses, that they were recommending that I go see a doctor for pain medication because it was so bad. I mean,
Mhm.
sometimes I couldn't even go to school or work, and I would show up and I would just be in this physical pain, and it was so much coming out of my body. And at that time, I had gone to the doctor again for a normal checkup, and I was diagnosed with something called endometriosis. I was not familiar with endometriosis at the time. It wasn't as widespread as PCOS and endometriosis are now. They're talked about by almost everyone, whether it's regular
Right.
physicians or holistic naturopathic doctors. So it was very scary. And what was told to me when I was 19 years old was that the best way to help endometriosis was to get a hysterectomy.
Mhm.
Now, as a 19-year-old who wanted to be a mother one day, wasn't ready to make that kind of decision, my body instantly turned off to that decision.
Mhm.
And I said no, which I'm grateful, so grateful that I said no, because as you know, that does cause some issues down the line as well. It's not a one all in where you can kind of get that treatment and then you feel better. There's a lot of things that are happening. And of course, your hormones are going crazy. So at that time, working with Lancome, I had a very close friend who is a naturopathic doctor, and we started to incorporate different supplements. We did acupuncture, light therapy. There were so many different ways of natural medicine that I had never been exposed to, because, again, you're only going to the doctor if you're really sick or if you need a checkup. So I didn't know of these holistic things that you could do to help your health, help your stress levels, help really realign your body with your mind so that you can be one. And again, you're a young individual with so much stress from work and school. It's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
So I'm forever grateful for this individual. Still to this day, she has helped me so much. Over the past 10 plus years, and something that I did was incorporate kombucha. Kombucha had just come in. So I was using kombucha, kind of microdosing per se, of kombucha. So taking smaller amounts and helping with my gut health. And at the time, I'm working out a lot still. Being a natural athlete, I loved going to the gym and doing different things. And I started to notice the weight coming off. And I realized that I was probably misdiagnosed with endometriosis. And about 2 years later, when I was 21, I realized I was misdiagnosed and that it was just something that a lot of doctors do so that they can help with those immediate issues, whether it's the elongation of your menstrual cycle or whether it's just trying to get you back to a normal feeling.
Hmm.
So incorporating that changed my life. Holistic medicine changed my life so much that I took an herbalist class this past year to learn more about natural medicine with elderberry syrups and medicinal honey and creating your own tea blends and things like that. Yoni steaming. Yoni steaming
Mm.
was a game changer for me, which the naturopathic doctor also showed me,
I don't
which
even know what that is. Can you explain what that
I was,
is?
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. So yoni steaming is where you have a custom blend of herbs, and essentially, there's different ways to do it. It's very predominant in African culture. So sometimes it's a wooden piece where you put hot water in, and you essentially sit over it and allow the water to come up into our private area. And
Okay.
essentially, that helps before menstrual cycle with cramping, with fatigue, with anything that you're feeling to kind of help loosen everything up. A lot of times, women use it for pregnancy as well to help with that ovulation process. So it's something that you don't do when you are on your menstrual cycle, but you can do it beforehand as a preventative measure. And you really have those herbs coming up into your system and healing the womb. Healing the
Yeah.
womb. So I actually have a book. Oh my gosh, I should know this off the top of my head. Sacred Woman, which
Okay.
I was also using as well. And that was something that the author, which I'll grab the author and ping it to you later, that she had kind of come up with about women healing their bodies, especially with the womb. Because a lot of times our trauma lives in the womb, whether it's from a young age, whether it's from something like a sexual assault, whether it's from, just our own pre-known notions about ourselves, kind of going straight into the womb, because truly women are intended to be mothers. So yoni steaming was something that really changed my life and helped me still to this day. And I've showed so many friends it, and it's something that you can do as a spiritual practice, but it also helps kind of loosen that womb and take out any
Mm.
stagnant energy that's in there to better serve you, not only for menstrual cycles, but also for clearing, for
Hmm.
clearing anything from your childhood, anything from your early adulthood. And, as we grow older, we go through issues with our womb, especially when we go through having children. I don't have children of my own, but as I watch my friends, everything changes. Your mind, your body, your spirit changes when you become a mother. It's such a spiritual experience. So
Yes.
for me, little things like that, the kombucha at the time was incredibly helpful. I don't do kombucha now because I do other gut health things to help, and kombucha became a trend. A lot of times we see with naturopathic medicine, it's becoming a trend now that we have TikTok and social media and things like that.
Sure.
So that experience of going to naturopathic medicine, especially acupuncture, which I still do to this day at
Yeah.
Wellness Pharmacy with Dr. Karen. She's an incredible healer, an incredible physician. I absolutely love her because it's a spiritual practice. How are you feeling? Where's your mood at? How are you sleeping? All of these are key factors getting to the root rather
Hmm.
than what the regular doctor is saying with, okay, you're having this with your menstrual cycle. Let's get you a hysterectomy and life will be great. No, there will be so many
No.
other issues. And we as humans, if we're not looking and learning about our body and our health, we're going to trust that individual. So with naturopathic, something that I really, really love is that they get to the root cause of everything. And it's not only physical, it's mostly mental, as you know. And that mental aspect is so key. As a 30-year-old
Mhm.
year old, when I'm looking back at this experience at 16 to 19, I was in one of the most high stress environments of my life. Also, you're trying to figure out who you are. You're going to college. You know,
Right.
you're in a job that could be your full time career, and I knew that I wanted to do more with my life, and I knew that if I kept up with that normal medicine, I would not be where I am today, and I would not be as intuitively sound with things that come up. You know, now even if I feel sick or might have strep throat, I'm not going to the doctor to get antibiotics. I'm using elderberry syrup and honey and oil of oregano, and I'm doing steam blends over my face with herbs. And
Or something like silver biotics. I don't know if you've ever done that, but
no,
that's
I
supposed to be,
haven't.
yeah. So there's so many things out there. That's what I'm saying. There's so much
So
that can
much.
help.
And when you're just listening to what works for your body,
Hmm.
you know, now you're not sick for a month. You're sick for maybe 3 days and you're feeling
Yes.
so much better. So that experience transcended my life. Not only because I'm kind of like the health guru to my friends in terms of food and medicine, but
Hmm.
also because I opened myself up to this naturopathic world that I never knew of. Now we have light therapy. You can go and get light therapy for an hour, and it helps with stress levels. It helps with the body, skin cancer, things like that, combating cancer. You know,
Yes.
cancer has been such a big topic for 50 plus years where you just it's almost inevitable you're going to get it because that's what commercials tell you. Or if you look at Ozempic, you know, I think back to when I was 19, if I saw a commercial on Ozempic, how I would feel because I couldn't get that weight off my body. It's kind of like menopause, when you hear a lot of people talking about pre or post menopause and they have that little belly, and it drives them insane because they can't get rid of it, but it's a part of the process. You know, we have the menstrual cycle and then we have the menopause, and sometimes we have different symptoms. And so as I look at commercials of Ozempic and losing weight and skinny culture, it's not about being skinny. It's about feeling the best in your body. And there's no copy paste because
Right.
every single person has different genetics. So no matter what the world tells you or what a physician tells you, your genetics play a huge role into who you are. So for me, as a young girl being naturally skinny and running into a situation where I'm gaining 55 pounds in 2 months, if I saw an Ozempic commercial, I would probably
Yeah.
say, Mom, what should we do? Like, I can't get this weight off. I'm doing 2 a days in the gym. I'm eating super healthy. I've always loved salad since I was a kid. So I'm a
Mm-hmm.
veggie and salad girl. So it wasn't that. It wasn't necessarily my diet. It was that my mental wasn't leading to my gut, which that
Mm-hmm.
mental gut clarity is
Connection.
so
There's a
needed.
connection. Yeah.
And a lot of
100%.
people, yeah, a lot of people don't look into that. And so my story changed my life and the people around me because I changed the way that I lived. I
Mhm.
sat with myself a lot more. I journaled. I understood when emotions came up, why I was feeling this way, why my body was feeling this way. Sometimes we have these gut pains and we think, oh, maybe I ate too much pasta yesterday, or you know, maybe something's going on. And sometimes it's just your intuition of something
Yeah.
isn't right. And it could be in your love life, it could be in your work life, it could be your home life. If you're
Hmm.
coming home and, you know, doing things that aren't necessarily great for you. I grew up in Wisconsin, so there's drinking culture as well. You know, you had a bad day, you had a stressful day, grab a glass of wine. And not to say that's not the right thing to do. I still do it to this day, but listening to myself. Maybe I need a sound bath or sound healing, or maybe I need to go to acupuncture or do a guided meditation to feel better. And
Yes.
that really transcended my life because after that time when I was 21, I moved to Boston. I always wanted to move out of Wisconsin, and I was
Hmm.
on my own. And when you move away, regardless of how far it is, even in Arizona, if you move across the valley, the day to day gets away from you. So if you're not with your support system every day, it's very detrimental on your mental health. And moving to Boston, which thankfully Boston is one of the healthiest cities in the US, uh,
Hmm.
and very great with medicine. You have Harvard, you have, so many different places there. Connecticut has fantastic naturopathic medicine out there too. So I really opened up my community to how I could help others. And, here in Arizona, I volunteered with a tea company my first 2 years. Again, learning more about herbs, learning a lot about prostate cancer and other things. Endometriosis was one too, but how to kind of reverse the side effects through
Mhm.
herbs and other medicine. And so, really, that experience from a young age transcended my life because I was opening myself up to community. And I was also opening myself up to different ways of living and being, especially at the time I moved to Boston in 2017. So, at that time, natural medicine was not where it is now. It's much more predominant now. But going to get acupuncture, you were a weirdo, you were judged, or going to the store and buying natural medicine and saying, never mind, I'm going to go to my farmer's market and get all
Yeah.
my produce here and do farm to table and things like that. You can't really listen to what society is telling you. And that's my whole point, is that they'll tell you, go on this diet, go vegan, which going vegan actually made me realize I was anemic. At that time, to go into another story, I was fainting a lot, and I was fainting around my menstrual cycle. And so I thought it was stress, and maybe I had certain people tell me, maybe, you're kind of having a seizure in a sense. And so I fell on a plane once, I fell in New York City once. And every time I went to urgent care after falling, it was a dehydration thing. And I knew that wasn't the root issue. And it turns out I did blood work and I was anemic.
Yeah.
And the vegan diet wasn't good for me because I didn't have enough iron. Not to say that vegan diets aren't great. They have tons of beans, and done right with the help of a naturopathic doctor, you can absolutely do it. But as Gabey trying to fix herself, and I wasn't doing the processed vegan diet, I wasn't doing anything like that. I was really doing whole foods, but it still wasn't enough. And so getting my blood work back and realizing, okay, I'm anemic. There were so many different trails that made sense over time, because when you're anemic, you're tired, especially as a woman, and you get to your menstrual cycle and you don't have enough iron. So you're
Right.
breaking down, you're exhausted, you're dehydrated, you're fatigued, you're sleeping for 10 to 12 hours a night, and you wake up exhausted. Your cortisol
Hmm.
through the roof. So there were so many different things in my 20s that made me realize there's something not right and I need to do more research and talk to a naturopathic doctor who has been studying medicine for years and years and years and understanding how these alternative practices really help. And from then
And
I,
and
yeah,
treating the whole
yeah,
person, not
yes.
just right, a
And not
symptom
just
or
cutting
one
paste.
particular. Mhm.
Yeah, going back to Ozempic, some people have to take it. And I give them, I am a firm believer that you have to do what's best for you. You have to understand what you're putting into your body and feel comfortable with it. And if it works for you, it works for you. But you also have to understand what's going to happen years and years later by being on medication.
Yeah.
Or, growing up in Wisconsin, you see opioids everywhere. And there is billboards as you drive through Chicago and Wisconsin that are saying, get rid of your pills when you're done with them because somebody might want them. And you look at the addiction to the big pharma, and you realize that, and this again is my own perception, that it really is more about money for those companies. It's not about wellness.
Mhm.
And that for me was the turning point. And now I see it from a mile away, seeing those Ozempic commercials and saying, I don't need that. My friends don't need that. There's other opportunities to really open yourself up to alternative healing. And it could, a lot of times with these feelings, people are thinking
Mhm.
it's too much money. It's too much of an investment because their insurance isn't covering it, as you know, with Reach.
Right.
But a lot of times, these naturopathic doctors truly want to help you, and they will create a path for you that aligns with your budget and
Hmm.
aligns with your goals. And sure, it's not going to take 2 months like something that you get from Big Pharma, but it's going to help you over the course of years and years and years to come. And when you think about your children and your children's children and the generational trauma that we naturally have living in ourselves, you want health to be something that they really appreciate, and they look at you and say, hey, this is what she's doing. And I really want to follow that because I know it works. And
Mm-hmm.
everyone is entitled to their own experience. So,
Absolutely. And
I
everybody's unique. Everybody's on their own healing journey. It's
exactly.
and it's different for everybody, but I mean, we can definitely glean some knowledge from everyone else's experiences, you know. When someone hears what you have to say,
Yeah.
it might mirror some of their symptoms, and I'll be like, "Oh, wait a minute, maybe that's happening to me." And then it's up to the individual to try and see what if it works for them. And if it doesn't, that's fine, leave it there. And if, you know, but you never know, it could work out, you know. So
Yeah.
it's just
We
about being open-minded, trying different things, and then trusting your intuition. Yeah.
trust is so big. And like I said, there's really no copy paste for humans.
Hmm.
You know,
Hmm.
everyone experiences things differently. And going back to
Absolutely.
my endometriosis story, at the time, I also was sexual assaulted when I was 19.
Gosh, I'm so
So
sorry.
thank you kindly. I have great support and great family, and I do love to talk about it with other individuals so that they're able to hear. I haven't openly talked in a forum like this about it, but it helps share the story because, again, going back to that womb healing,
Mhm.
at the same time, I was misdiagnosed with endometriosis. So there was a lot going on in my womb in terms of stress and emotional guilt. You know, as someone who's been through sexual assault, there's so much guilt on your own self. And you
Mhm.
really have to take it into your own hands to get help, to have a wonderful support system, and to be able to communicate that because dealing with it alone is not enough. And you feel shame and you feel guilt. But as I look back as a 30-year-old, of course, I had so much stress because I'm working full time. I'm in school. I was just going through a sexual assault with somebody who was on my campus that I actually sat in a class with. And you don't think about those kind of stressors because you're trying to figure out what's going on in your body and your doctor is saying it's endometriosis. And now that I look back, that's an important part of my story because there was so much stress leading to the menstrual cycle elongating for months and months
Yes.
and months. It wasn't necessarily something internal other than my mindset. It was my body reacting to all of these different things happening and having to grow up so fast and take matters into my own hands. And if I
Mhm.
truly didn't have the support system that I did at the time I was 19, I wouldn't be where I was today because I would have held it all in. I wouldn't go to school. I'd quit my job. I would, you know, put myself in a space of solitude that wasn't necessarily good for me. But that those experiences led me to my naturopathic journey, which
Yeah.
really made me understand, again, going back to what you said, intuition and body intuition. And at the time, you know, men, not menstrual, mental health was so big. And so it was about how am I feeling mentally? And can I
Mhm.
convey this to my support system and to my job and to my teachers and be open? And I did that. I did go to
I'm
my
so glad you did because unfortunately so many people don't do that. And
team.
that's unfortunate. I'm so glad you had that support because that's absolutely what you needed.
Yes.
And with support, you can get out of things. You certainly can. You know, it's a process. I'm not going
Yes.
to minimize the process, right?
Yes.
But with the proper support, you can get that help that you need to get out of that. And
You
thank
can't
God
do it
you had
alone.
that. Yeah.
That,
Mhm.
oh, and I thank God every day. I mean,
Yeah.
those people are still in my life. And
Mhm.
we talk a lot about our experiences. And of course, my friends and family have gone through their own experiences. Again, going back to genetics, you have things that are in your genetics that sometimes you don't know about until your 30s, 40s, 50s. And you're like, wait a second, what's
Mhm.
happening to me? What's going on with me? And it all stems from generation to generation. So that's why it's
It
always
does.
so,
Hmm.
so important to talk to your family while they're still here and say, what did you experience in your life? Not only on a physical level, but on a mental level. What mental illness did you have as a child? What trauma did you go through? What did your mom and your mom's mom go through? Because it is passed down generation to
It's
generation, and that generational trauma thankfully now in today's society is something that we talk about much more often. But that generational trauma, it lives within you. And sometimes you're the catalyst where you have to break that. And you're the, again, going back, you're the weirdo. You're the weirdo that's intuitive. And maybe they call you a conspiracy theorist or whatever it is, but you have to be rooted in who you are and know
Absolutely.
that it's okay for people to not understand it. But 10 years down the line, they might say, wow, look at your experience. Somebody might hear this and say, wow, I was misdiagnosed with endometriosis and I got the hysterectomy. And I wish I didn't because now
Yeah.
I feel X, Y, and Z. Or maybe the opposite, Joanna, where it's
Mhm.
I got the hysterectomy and it helped me and I couldn't do the things I wanted to do in terms of bearing children, but I feel better. And I'm not knocking
No.
regular medicine at all. I'm just
Right.
sharing my experience with the naturopathic approach and
Right.
alternative forms of medicine and meditation, journaling, these things that we think we don't have time for that take 5 to 10 minutes a day truly change your life. And
Absolutely.
that was my experience with all of that. So I know I rambled, but
No, no, that was wonderful. No, thank you. I mean, exactly as you said it. I mean, there's merits to Western medicine, and we're not here to knock it. I mean, obviously, it's got its merits, right?
yeah,
I think the whole point of this conversation and how
yeah.
you so beautifully said everything, it
Oh, thank
just
you.
shows us how we're empowered, right?
Yeah,
To be in the driver's seat of our own health, right? That,
absolutely.
yes, we do consult with doctors or naturopaths or practitioners and whomever. But at the end of
Exactly.
the day, we have to trust our intuition, our gut, what we know to be true, and factor that in, whatever we decide to do, whether we decide to, move forward with the treatment plan or try something else. And
Yeah,
like you did beautifully, I mean, you didn't rush to doing anything drastic,
yeah,
you know, thankfully, because now, like you said, you remedied the situation and you didn't have to have a hysterectomy, which is tremendous,
yeah.
right? So,
And
I
I
mean,
naturally healed my menstrual cycle. I mean,
that's
I
wonderful.
never went back on birth control. Birth control, sometimes I talk to people and they never had that experience. And they're maybe like 3 out of 10 people that I talk to are like, I had the same exact experience. And I think one thing I'm really grateful for is I didn't go back to that. I didn't heal. And I'm, of course, still in my healing process. You're still learning, your body is still growing, things are still
Yes.
happening. And, I've moved 3 times in my young adult life. So there's so many natural stressors that are happening outside of work and life. And I never went back to birth control. And I love sharing that experience because people are like, I need it. I need to be on birth control to help my hormones, to help my PCOS, to help my endometriosis, to help my menstrual cycle because I'm getting it nonstop, or IUDs. I don't want it at all. And I'm like, oh my gosh, again, going back to yoni steaming and how we incorporate things into that area of our body, you need the flow.
Mhm.
So not to get too in depth, but free flowing with your menstrual cycle, allowing yourself to just bleed rather than having a bleached tampon in for 4 or 5 hours. That's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother day with the
Yeah.
pink sacs and what
Mhm.
we're putting in our body. And everyone has to do what's right for them. But I think my greatest blessing is not going back to the birth control and understanding, especially being a certified herbalist now, understanding different forms of medicine that you can have preventative measures, or you can create a blend for endometriosis and do a yoni steam or take it, or you can create a tincture for PCOS or ovarian cysts, something I haven't even talked about. A lot of women don't even know that they're having ovarian
No,
cysts.
they
And
usually just have the surgery to remove, right? And
yes. And
yeah,
you look at, dozens of my friends are doing IVF. And thank goodness that we have options and ways to bear children in other ways. But you think about the injections of those hormones and what does that come down look like after?
Mhm.
So you do get pregnant. And then how do you feel after being injected with all of those hormones? These are just things that we don't talk about unless we have someone close to us experiencing it. And so I'm just so grateful for myself not going back to that medicine and now being so hyper aware of what it is like to put things in your body. I mean, My family will even tell you, Joanna, a funny quick story. I have family from Hawaii, and I was crazy at this time. This is when I was living in Boston, but I was very hyper aware of what I was putting in my body, and even certain oils at restaurants. We went to a restaurant outside of Honolulu, and I said, "Can we switch out the peanut oil for avocado oil?" And she said, "No, this is how we make it." And my parents and my brother are going to laugh at this because they still this day talk about it. But I was so hyper focused on how they were cooking my food
Mhm.
because I knew if I had the peanut oil or if I had the canola oil or if I had something soy based, soy does not work
Mhm.
well with my body, then I would get sick. I would get sick and I would feel disoriented and mentally it fogs me. And I remember my brother and my mom saying, like, "You're crazy." And I was crazy. I absolutely
No,
apologies.
I don't think no, I don't think you were crazy. I think you were listening to yourself, and that's what we need to do
Yes.
more of. So that's not crazy. No.
Yeah, so you look at restaurants out here like Flower Child and Amelia's by Eat, who
Mhm.
truly are farm to table and only use things that don't have seed oils because
Mhm.
seed oils affect both men and women. I know we're talking a lot about women's experiences in this phone call, but also men too. Going back to
Yes. Men have
prostate.
hormones too. People don't realize that.
Yes,
Men have,
and
yes, men have hormones too. They don't have a cycle, but they have hormones. So
they
yeah.
have hormones and
Hmm.
they're trying to keep up with the culture as well of being fit and
Hmm.
adding certain supplements into their diet or fasting is
Hmm.
huge. I've talked to tons of men about it, but I even use my brother as an example now because being out here with him, that's what brought me to Arizona. If
Hmm.
we're sick, I'll say, "Hey Dan, I'm going to give you X, Y, and Z," and he'll take it willingly. Like occasionally he'll go back to that natural NyQuil, or we love Vixen in our family. My
Right.
grandmother loves Inspire.
Right. I'm familiar with VIX too.
It's on the foot.
Hmm.
Shout out to my grandma for that one. But absolutely,
Yeah.
when you're incorporating it into your life, people
Hmm.
are interested in incorporating it into their life. And I love being a teacher for that. I
Hmm.
love being the person that people call when they're looking at ingredients on their food or they're feeling a certain way and they want to know alternative medicine. And I can't tell you how many people I've told about acupuncture just because
Yeah.
acupuncture is fantastic. But
I know. I've tried acupuncture too. I love it. I love it. It really
fantastic,
does. It's
you know?
fantastic. It's really, and if I mean, you're sensitive, probably like I am, but I can
Yeah,
actually feel the flow,
absolutely.
as I sit there, and it's wild. Like I'm
It
sure other
is.
people may not, but I do, and you can
I
tell
do.
that it's doing something. So it's amazing. And like you
Yeah,
said, the big piece, I mean, what struck me from what you said, I call it mind, body, soul healing. Some might say mind, body, spiritual healing,
yeah,
spiritual soul. They're kind of synonymous, right? They're one and the
yeah,
same.
absolutely.
But it's truly, and you talked about, the physical aspects of ending certain cycles, but there's also the social, like you said, soul aspects too that we carry from. I know some people might not believe in this, but we have past lives, and
Absolutely.
sometimes there is generational stuff that you're carrying too, because our soul is in our bodies. Our bodies are temporary, right? So our soul is
Deja vu. The deja vu.
everlasting, right? And so we carry stuff and we incarnate into, we choose who our family. So like when you talk about lineage, yeah, it goes back generations, not
It's
just the
so
physical,
funny.
but also the soul, right?
Yeah.
So everything you said was spot on, like total.
Oh,
And so it sounds like you were ending and breaking those cycles. And it's true. And not only that, you have so much wisdom and knowledge you can teach so many people based on your story alone, which is wonderful, which is why I'm so glad you're here.
yes.
Because
And I
yeah,
love
and like,
learning. I love
yeah, I
learning
mean,
myself. You
it's,
never stop learning. You never do.
yeah. And like I said, the people have to understand. I mean, there's so much to it. We have the chakras in our bodies too, that about that, right? And so when
I didn't
those are
even
off,
talk to Reiki. God,
no,
I love
yeah,
Reiki.
Reiki's wonderful too. I mean, there's so many modalities out there that
Yeah.
some people are just not aware of, or they never tried, or they didn't think it was going to work, or they don't know. But yeah, at an energetic level, it's tremendous. And I mean energetic, meaning healing the soul, because like you said it beautifully, if you don't heal that aspect of pretty much whatever you do isn't really going to matter. You know what I mean? Like you need the mind, body, soul connection. It all has to be balanced,
Yes.
and but when you told your story, that's how I felt. I felt a balance needed to be struck. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so you beautifully figured it out, like you said, with what did you call it? The no, was it noni? What was it? The sound
Yoni
bath,
steaming.
noni
Yoni.
steaming.
It's
Oh,
fantastic.
why? Oh, yoni. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry. I don't
No,
want
no,
to
you're fine.
misstate that. So yoni
Mhm.
steaming. But
Yeah.
just what you said was so beautiful because it's true. I mean, and the gut brain connection, people don't realize, our immunity lies within our gut. That's the huge aspect. And if that's not well, it throws everything off, right?
Right.
So the gut is tremendous. And like I said, and then there's the gut brain connection. And
Yeah.
so that's where we're also off. And I'm one of those people.
Mhm.
My background, I have work comp adjusting in my background. And when you mentioned opioids, I literally cringe when people talk about that because um, a lot of people that had chronic pain, doctors
Mhm.
would put them on opioids. And as an adjuster, I had to do what the doctor said. I'm not a doctor. I had to authorize what the doctor said, but I used to cringe the thought that I had to authorize this stuff. Like I felt like I
Yeah.
was partially responsible for these people who literally would get addicted on these things, right? And
Yeah.
I truly didn't think it helped. I mean, it might have at some point, and then I don't believe it ended up helping. It just kind of prolonged everything, and it was a
Mhm.
symptomatic treatment. And I think they just got addicted.
Yeah.
Whereas we have so many natural plant medicines nowadays that, THC
Absolutely.
rebuilds neurons, and
Yeah.
we know that the pain centers lie in our brain, and there's just so much that we don't know. I mean, what we should have done is stuck to the natural ways, right? And use the plant medicines, what Earth and Gaia, Mother Gaia gave us. But
Mhm.
instead we used something that, yeah, it's derived from a plant, but it's,
Yeah.
in a lab and it's altered. And it's targeted for one specific thing. And it's not, again, not incorporating the body as a whole, as a system, right?
100%. And I love that you brought that up because I do have funny again. It's when I was 19, I had a friend that was an addict back in Wisconsin. And just another stressor, but also being the person I am, I'm very caring and selfless to the individuals in my life, and I'm the helper. My
Mm-hmm.
mother is just like that. I'm so grateful. I was raised by an incredible mother, an incredible father, and my mom was so emotionally in tune, but also so caring and giving, and she is a natural caregiver as well. Um, just a fantastic person in my life that taught me so much about caring for others and being selfless and helping the community, helping your friends, helping your family, helping strangers even. She calls them God moments.
Mm-hmm.
And something with that during that time was seeing my addict friend continue to go down the same road and trying to help her to the point where another friend of mine and I had picked her up from somewhere and she had gotten physical with us. And we both said, okay, enough.
Yeah.
And, thank God to this day, she is still alive and healing. We thank God for that because growing up in Wisconsin, I probably have about 1 to 2 individuals from my high school or college die per year of opioids.
Gosh.
And they're young. I mean, I'm 30
Yeah.
and I've dealt with that. And I recently lost a cousin, not to opioids, but to addiction.
I'm
It
so
will be 2
sorry.
years this year.
Yeah.
Thank you. And those moments are heartbreaking, but it also shows you how reliant we are on things to get out of our everyday. So we're reliant on the medication, we're reliant on
Yeah.
the drug, we're
Yeah.
reliant on the person sometimes too. And I watch it, and when I was 19, watching people go through addiction, I just wanted to help them. I wanted to step
Yeah.
into their shoes and get them out of it. As someone who is 30 now, I realize that it's a choice and life is about
It is.
choices. And it's
It is.
incredibly disheartening to see what happens, but we need more help. We need more nonprofits. We need more community events that's helping these people because they don't know any better. Again, it's escapism. And so for me, addiction is something that has been a part of my life for a very long time, especially growing up where I did. But it's this reliant energy on something that you need that you don't really need. And exactly what you said, the herbs. And I'm so glad you brought up Reiki, especially with past lives, because really going into those chakras, which my aunt is a massage therapist. So I was exposed to massage and Reiki from a very young age. She actually does long distance Reiki, and Reiki is another thing, which is just funny how timelines work. Because I was in about fifth, sixth grade when I was exposed to massage and cupping, and again, great things to utilize for your health and
Right.
wellness that are
Hmm.
very spiritual. But Reiki to this day, I do it as well. And thankfully in Arizona, we have so many wonderful Reiki practitioners.
We do.
You know, they're writing down notes, and
Yeah.
it's energy that we're holding on to. And sometimes it is generational. And so I would encourage everyone from that perspective to talk to your family members while they're still here. You know, both of my grandpas have since passed. And I asked my one grandpa so many questions about his health, about his experiences, about his life. Was he truly happy? And he was. He loved his life fully.
Mhm.
But you can paint a better picture by knowing that health and knowing what your genetics carry, and even doing like ancestry and things like that, and
Yes.
understanding where your ancestry comes from and what your ancestors dealt with, you know, because
Yeah, or even like
from
what
your
kind of foods, what was their diet like? That, you
yes,
obviously genetically, that's where you technically came from, right? You're
exactly.
so sometimes eating like like your ancestors did, or how, where the land from where you came from,
Yeah,
it matters,
absolutely.
particularly, I'm thinking of Native Americans that
Yeah,
have are eating our diet, and it's not what they're accustomed to, and obviously it's bringing on all these health issues, and
absolutely.
it just breaks my heart, and so we need to correct that, and a lot of them they have their own farms, which is tremendous, because truly food is our medicine, number
It
one. I mean,
is.
obviously, yeah, if we ate well and nutrient dense foods, we wouldn't need half the supplements that some
No.
of us take, right? But if we had that nutritious organic food that's, truly nourished us,
Yes.
and the foods that were right for us, because everybody's different, like you said, and like you said, not the processed stuff, like you said, the seed oils and all that, the more natural, wholesome foods that are, designed for our body to operate well on, you know what I mean?
100%.
Right
Most
there,
of the
that's like,
issues come from our food. Yeah,
exactly. A lot of this could be conquered just from food alone. I mean, just eating
absolutely.
properly, right?
Yeah,
But then, of course, there's other things. Like I said, there's the emotional, social, the soul component. Like I said, getting our body, our gut in line, having a balanced life. Like I said, emotionally, like you said, journaling or finding escapes or ways to
yeah,
balance our energy out, how to get centered and grounded. All these things are so crucial. And so when I started Reach, I actually started it as a support platform on Facebook back in April 2024.
that's
And so I hope to grow that, because right now I wanted it to be like a Q&A, exchange, people
yeah,
asking for advice, and those that had experience or could answer to it would. And,
yeah,
if you didn't, maybe someone else did, it would be like an open forum. I'm
yeah,
not getting a lot of participation, but I do post a lot of inspirational quotes, and my goal is to grow that group as a support basis, because some things that you touched upon, I'm the same as you. I want to help people,
yeah.
always have. But unfortunately, sometimes helping someone when they're not ready is unfortunately to them quite offensive, right? So
Amen.
I've learned, through love and through, respecting everybody as because they're on their journey, I've
Yeah,
learned to, help those that are ready to receive. and
absolutely.
so and so that's why I've said this in some of my videos that I put out there. What I try to do is, instead of offering help that's not solicited, when someone asks for help, I do everything I can to help them, and if I can't, I try to direct them to someone who can. And
Amazing.
so that's where I believe support needs to come in, when someone is ready, right? We're going to
Absolutely.
meet them where
You
they're
have to
at
meet them halfway. Yeah, you have to meet
when
them
they're ready. If they're not ready or they're not asking for it, we unfortunately, as much as we want to help, we really can't. And we just have to let them, because it's a choice. It's their choice to make. And
halfway. It is.
if they don't have buy-in, they're not going to do it. So, but that was the whole idea with the support platform. And then I turned Reach into a nonprofit to fund impactful causes, right? Still with the support, always
Yeah,
with the support, but we're funding the integrative healthcare cause, which
I
is
love
going to
it.
work. alongside Western medicine, right? We're going to raise funds and pay for alternative care, all these wonderful modalities and different, even like you said, herbalists, practitioners that are Reiki,
Yeah,
craniosacral, hypno, polarity. There's just so much out there.
there
Um,
is. We have
plant
so much at our
medicines,
fingertips.
yeah,
Yes,
plant medicines to help people with addictions. I mean, the list goes on and on. There's just so much that people are not aware. But we're going to pay for those who are under resourced. We're
amazing.
just trying to level the game.
It's
If you
amazing.
make less than $100,000 in your household, we're going to pay for your treatment,
I love
and those that make more, they probably can afford them. We'll still guide and provide guidance,
it.
but
Amen.
we're just trying to level the playing field with resources. So,
That's amazing.
that's the,
That is
yeah. So,
amazing and so needed because, again, going back to my story, you get so scared with the out of
yeah.
pocket costs. Your insurance doesn't cover it. Like I said, I had a great job, I had insurance. It doesn't necessarily cover it. And it's an investment in yourself. So
Hmm.
having that opportunity, Joanna, is so beautiful that you've created that for the community. And I'm sure it will go nationwide, if not worldwide, because people just don't know. And I love that you're meeting people where they're at. Because one thing I've always said in my business is it's not about going viral, it's about
Hmm.
getting noticed.
Yes.
Meaning, I don't want to be the next trend when I'm
Mhm.
talking. I don't want to take a supplement just because everyone's taking it. I want to have the support by being noticed and have
Mhm.
these real conversations like we are too. And I love that you're connecting people because I always call myself a people connector because that's really our purpose. When we care so much about helping others and being that support person and taking care of others and listening, think of how many people don't even listen anymore, right? So just even you listening to me and me listening to you, thank you for your time
Oh, of
because
course.
truly it's an oversight. Now everybody is go, go, go. And the reality is we're all go, go, go. But someone might see something of yours and it might be, through word, which I love word of mouth. Even having a marketing agency, I always say word of mouth is so key. And so
Mhm.
you people connecting all of these individuals within the community will just expand and brighten and beautify everything. And it gives the opportunity for those people who don't know what's out there, or they might be stuck in that stagnant mindset of, nope, I saw this on TV, so I have to do it. My mom and dad did this. You're giving them the opportunity to truly open up their mind. And that
Mhm.
process, sure, it can take time like mine, a full decade, but it
Mhm.
is a beautiful unraveling. It is
Mhm.
beautiful to have opportunity and the community that they will find through you is fantastic and you're building that community and I just want to say what a wonderful wonderful organization that you have created and to see it flourish into different things is just beautiful. And I can't wait to see how much you
Mhm.
grow and how many people you reach and also the
Mhm.
impact that you make, which you've already done. And for anyone watching, when you meet Joanna in person, it is like sunlight. It is just,
Oh,
you're a
thank you.
warm hug on a rainy day. And
Oh, that's so sweet.
but it's truly a testament to who you are. And again, we all go through things as adults, but your soul is so beautiful and you light up a room, as does Kathleen, as does other people in our
Oh,
community, Dr. Karen.
as do you, as
Oh,
do
thank
you. Thank you so much, love. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's going to be tremendous. And like you said, when you talk about community, so Reach Integrative Healthcare Cause provides that infrastructure, right? We
you. Yeah.
provide that funding. But we're also going to be connecting with holistic referral networks. So I'm
I
actually partnering with someone in Scottsdale at the moment. And of course,
love,
Dr. Karen here in town, right? She's creating her own little holistic
I
community.
love it.
So we're going to be just plugging right into all those holistic referral networks. And so, like I said, the plan is to grow not just in Arizona, but nationally or perhaps beyond. And so I already know holistic referral networks in Florida. Someone I connected with there has other holistic referral networks that they know of that they've started and other people are heading it. So I mean,
It's
it's
amazing.
definitely it's all coming together, but for a good reason, because this is something that's meant to happen. I don't believe this was given to me to handle. This is not something that I can't say, take the credit for myself, right? I channel this information. Someone's given this to me and they said, this is what I need to do. And so I'm doing
Perfect.
that. It's my calling.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, and like I said, within that holistic referral network, we're going to be building a community. It's going to be a community of providers, practitioners that that help each other as well, that they grow together, they learn from each other. Because when the person comes in, when the healthcare consumer comes into our program and they're committed, it's going to be all hands on deck to figure out how to
Absolutely.
help them. And so to
Absolutely.
do that, you need community. It's not about just one practitioner. It's about everybody coming together to figure out what's going to help this person. And so, and like I said, practitioners can learn from each other. There's going to be so much, in my opinion, when we get that funding, there's going to be so much work available. It's a win-win-win for everybody. You know what I mean? There's going to be
Absolutely.
so many people that are going to need assistance that we're going to need more practitioners probably than we have on board. So I just see this growing exponentially. And like I said, being a win-win-win-win for everybody.
It's
Um,
community for everyone. Not only are you creating
exactly.
opportunity in your nonprofit,
Yeah.
like you said, you're creating community. And going back to food and community, I think right now those are the two most important things.
Well,
Everyone's so scared of what's going to happen, and the truth is, the world is always changing. As are we.
yeah,
We're evolving, and so having the opportunity to have really good food available to us and wonderful community that includes practitioners and everyone coming together with different knowledge. Because again, going back to what I said earlier with learning, we're always learning. And one of my favorite things is you can say something today and it can change tomorrow. That is totally okay to change your mind and change your mindset and change what you're
yeah,
doing day to day. It's okay to evolve. And
yeah,
sometimes
absolutely.
sometimes we
Hmm.
get scared of that, and that is
Yeah,
okay to evolve. And so I love that you're branching out and creating community and reaching out to these individuals, and not only are you changing their lives, but they're changing yours. And
yes,
that is truly our purpose, is to just tenfold over and over and
yeah,
over again and just build, and the right people come and the right
they
people
will.
find you.
In the right timing, absolutely. This has been a process. I think everything, my whole history of how I got here has led me to where I am for good reason. It's taught
Yeah.
me many, I've learned many lessons along the way, and I'm grateful for every
Yeah.
disappointment, for every setback, for every time that, the hurts and the traumas and the whatever have you. It's made me stronger. It's made me the individual that can do
Absolutely.
this work. And like I said, integrative healthcare cause is a huge cause, but there will be others. Reach
Yeah.
will fund other causes as well. And you
Love it.
you just hit the nail on the head. I mean, the next is going to be probably organic, regenerative, sustainable farming, a
Amazing.
distribution system where we grow it locally, and like I said, farm to table. We make sure we have, you know, what's coming in, what's going out, and so that there's no
Yes.
waste, and you know what I mean? So it's all doable. We
Huge.
just have to have that intention. And
Exactly.
unfortunately, we do need funding, obviously. And so for those that believe in the cause, that truly think it's something like, I always bring up the International Dark Sky Discovery Center. I remember when they
Yeah.
were first trying to get funding, and I remember Ted Blank saying, "Oh, we'll need about like 31 million." And I'm like, 31 million?
Yeah.
And I think they've raised probably more than that now, right? And
Absolutely.
they've got this wonderful center, this building that they're putting up, and it's tremendous, the kind of support that they have from the
And a
community. But
great
that just
group of
goes
people. Great group
right.
of people.
Exactly. And that just goes to show when like-minded people come together for a cause, for a belief in what they want, and they pool their resources, look at what can be done,
Absolutely. It
you
hits
know?
a heartstring. And
Yeah.
I have a lot of nonprofit clients too. And like I said, I've always volunteered. So I've been around nonprofit from a very young age. My mom used to always take me to Echo Food Bank in Wisconsin as I was growing up. And really, truly, it opens up your mind to how much you have in your own house, especially a food bank. Extended Hands Food Bank. Allison
Yes,
does a fantastic job.
she
But
does.
having that, we don't think about it because from a day-to-day basis, we can go to the grocery store, we can go to our local farmers market and buy, and people can't. So I love that you say that. And it goes back to, with funding, it's scary at first, but I always tell everyone shoot for the stars
Oh
because you
yeah.
never know who you're going to reach. And also in
Mhm.
today's day and age, we have in each community, we have people who have been super successful that want to give back now and they want to be a part of something in their community or something nationwide. It just has to pull a heartstring. And so it's just about getting, and this is perfect because it pulls every heartstring there could be.
Well,
Why any
considering
heartstring?
considering 80% of us have some type of chronic health challenge condition,
Yeah,
it does affect a lot of us. Yes.
exactly. And
80%
so
of us.
you will get
Yeah.
there. You will
Hmm.
absolutely get there. And
Hmm.
you would be surprised. One day you could wake up and you only are getting, a $50 donation once a week. And one day you get a $5,000 donation and it changes the organization. So it's all
Absolutely.
about just continuing to do what you're doing. And I
Hmm.
love what you said about all roads kind of leading back home, because sometimes we don't understand in life why things are happening and shifting, going back to evolving. But as I look at my own career in specific and where I'm at now, everything I did in my early 20s and earlier in my life was meant to be so I could get to this point. And forever isn't, something that you decide isn't forever. So there
Hmm.
might be shifts, but
Hmm.
I just love how you're helping our community. I love that you wanted me to jump on here and talk
Hmm.
more about my story. I feel incredibly honored, and I'm grateful that you asked, because a lot of times we don't share our story. So I have
Well,
thoroughly enjoyed talking to you, and I know
yeah.
we're going to do fantastic, fantastic things
Thank
because
you.
you
And I am
have
forever grateful. Thank you so much for doing this and for sharing your story, like I said, which is going to help so many people. Like I said, your knowledge, your teaching, your learning is going to impact so many. I mean,
Yes, I love
just by
it.
because we don't realize just one person, how much of an impact one person can make. So just
100%.
doing this, getting out there, getting that knowledge out there, getting the word out there, it's tremendous. So thank you so much for being
Thank
here.
you. And thank you for
And
what you're doing. You have such a
uh,
beautiful heart, and I can't
um,
wait to see it expand. And I just envision it going all across the country. And I think of my home too. I don't know. I haven't been there in 8 years. I haven't lived there in 8 years, I should say.
mhm,
But we didn't have a lot of, holistic approaches to medicine back then. So I
mhm.
know Chicago is evolving and everything like that. But moving out east, there was so much more opportunity. And I just am grateful that you are going to share it with the masses, because you never know. You never know who
Yeah,
needs to hear it and who needs help. And that's the human experience. We need to help each other, love each other, and be there, especially our
absolutely.
neighbors. So
Absolutely.
beautiful, beautiful
Okay.
conversation. I appreciate you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Gaby. All right. And we'll be talking
Welcome.
soon. So thanks
Absolutely.
again. You're tremendous. I
You
just
are
am so,
too.
so grateful. So,
Oh, you're going to
all
make
right.
me cry.
Thanks. No, thank you so much, honey. All right. You
Thank
take care.
you. You too.